Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show this Friday, March 10th, 2023. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad to have you guys here. Uh, Here you go. The whole system could come down. In fact, it will. If the central bank of the United States of America, the Federal Reserve, continues with what they're doing and they don't stop and they keep pulling the liquidity out of the system, they'll bring the whole system down to the ground. It'll stop functioning. So they're going to have to stop. This is why I tell you guys, they're going to have to stop at some point. But the more energy they let this thing get, and it's just starting to get rolling now. It hasn't got much energy yet. It's a picture a snowball going down a hill. You know, the faster it goes, the bigger it gets. Well, this is just a small snowball that's starting near the top of the hill, but it's got a long way to go to gain energy. But the longer they let it go down that hill, the more kinetic energy it's going to store inside it, and the more it's going to take to stop it. And ultimately, it's not going to stop unless they stop it, and it'll keep rolling down the hill until it smacks into a tree and busts into a million pieces. And that's what I mean. Our whole economy will just be destroyed. There won't be nothing left. It'll cease to function if they don't stop it. So they're going to have to stop it at a certain point. Change direction. They're just getting this thing moving now. It could snowball out of control. And rising interest rates squeeze regional banks. Banks could be forced to liquidate. You know, we're talking about a big problem. It says the SVB financial crash has triggered concerns about liquidity challenges in other banks. The FDIC has estimated that U.S. banks have more than $600 billion in unrealized losses. The shocking downfall of SVB's financial group has stolen the spotlight in the banking sector this week, but bank industry woes may be much more serious than SVB's downfall. It says SVB shares dropped 60% on Thursday after the bank announced a plan to raise more than $2 billion in capital. It says why this is important. It says SVB may be the poster child for a difficult banking environment. It's far from alone. Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, I should say, has estimated that U.S. banks have more than $600 billion in unrealized losses generated by raising interest rates. So what banks are having problems with this and are realizing these losses? The heavy losses in the last 2 weeks: First Republic Bank, Signature Bank, Zions Bancorporated, Bank of America Group, J.P. Morgan Chase, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo have all been realizing losses. Some of them are down as much as 29.6%. Like Wells Fargo's down 7%. Bank of America's down 7%. So here we go. I mean, this is a crisis, a developing crisis. 5% UST is sucking capital out of the banks. Wall Street banks have just spent the last 4 weeks selling investors on a soft, no-landing scenario. There's a rare moment of social risk awareness in markets where everybody is huddled on the wrong side of the boat. In other words, everybody's got it wrong. It says, and when the migration starts, the broad belief system flips, and the swing can be very violent. We're here now. Now here she goes, guys. Everything's starting to slide. And, you know, okay, it hasn't showed up big in the markets yet, but it's going to. It's just a matter of time. I mean, I just see something really big here coming. I've been seeing it for a long time, but I mean now, it's really starting to manifest itself. It's big and it's dark. And it's looming right now. And the Fed is inducing it. A silver price, we did get a little pop in the silver price this morning. It's up 41 cents today at 20.46. I'll tell you guys what. Things are progressing just exactly kind of like I thought they would progress years ago, but it's taken an awful lot longer than I thought. I've been talking about all this for years. 7 years. Just here, it's coming, guys. It's coming. Well, even when we're here at this point where you can actually see it, still it progresses slower than I thought. But I think the tricky part about all this is I think it's all on an exponential function. And so even though it's been progressing slow over all these years, the last 7 years, while I've been working on it on my channel here, I think the final stages is going to go really quickly. When you get to that moment of the hockey stick where it just goes so fast then. And there's no stopping this because this is the final stages of a Ponzi scheme that's breaking to pieces. And Ponzi schemes always break to pieces. It should be a no-brainer. This is the end of it. And it can only go in one direction. If they do not want to see their whole financial system basically melt and them lose power because basically lights go out. And how are they going to fare in a Mad Max world? I mean, they haven't worked a day in their life, these academics that work on places like the Fed and stuff like that. They just go through college and then they get into these academic careers and they don't know how to survive in a world that's gone mad. And if they're the ones that's creating the mad world, at a certain point, they're going to back away from that, and they're going to say, hey, we got to stabilize things. Well, how do we do that, they're going to say? Well, we got a printer. I mean, it's totally obvious what they're going to do at a certain point. Should be obvious to all of us. They're going to bring on a hyperinflation. And what does that mean? What is a hyperinflation? A lot of people, maybe they're tuning into my channel for the first time. They don't know what a hyperinflation is. It's when you go into the store in the morning and a dozen eggs is like $7. And you go in that afternoon and they're $10. You go in the next day and they're $15. That's how quick it moves. And it keeps progressing faster and faster like that. So you go in 6 months later, after that, and they're $20,000 for a pack of eggs. And then an hour later, they're $40,000. It just keeps progressing faster and faster. And the government, to make up for all of this, they just keep adding zeros in the end. And they become a hyperinflation nation where everybody just expects. In the end, they get used to this because it takes several years. A hyperinflation can continue for quite a long period of time while the people are suffering through it. But people get used to it after a while because we're very adaptable as a species. And they get used to the prices doubling daily. And so they can't stop it from happening because once people get used to it, once they get that mindset that prices are going to go up, they spend their money as fast as they get it. That becomes policy. That keeps prices going up. And it's impossible to stop it. And you have to destroy the currency in the end and start fresh with something new. And when you consider that this hyperinflation is going to be the biggest the world's ever seen, people are not going to want to trust fiat currencies anymore when this is over. So there's only one final solution to that, where all of this ends in the end, is they have to go back to what's called hard money. Money with a backing. Probably going to be gold and silver. We're going to back the new money. And gold and silver will retain its value in a hyperinflation. In fact, rather than just retain its value, it does exceedingly well. There's stories that have come out of Germany during the Weimar hyperinflation where people have bought things that you couldn't, just with one or several gold coins. They've bought things that before the hyperinflation would have been impossible. They could have worked all their lives, like maybe a hotel or maybe a whole city block in Germany, and they were able to buy. But before the hyperinflation, they wouldn't have been able to buy that for love of their money. But a little bit of gold in their pocket, and they were able to buy things that were incredible. And these buying opportunities come along to people that have gold and silver, because it's a fundamental behind this whole financial system. These opportunities will come along during the hyperinflation. You ever think maybe you could buy a whole house for just 100 ounces of silver? A beautiful house, a house right now that would sell for $300,000-$400,000. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. There's a limited amount of time left to get on the bandwagon. The train's leaving the station on this stuff. You're going to come in here one of these mornings and you're going to see a spike like that, a green spike on the silver and gold price. And it's just going to be over $3. And then once it starts doing that, it'll do that day after day after day after day, until the price gets up. Way up. Where you can't afford it any longer. I mean, a lot of you guys are so used to this cheap silver now and cheap gold. You're so used to it that you've got this mindset that it'll never go up. And then when it happens, I mean, you'll be looking at it and you'll say, I'm not paying $50 an ounce for silver. And then later you'll wish you had, because it goes up to $300. That's what we're looking at happening. Anyway, guys, take a look now at gold price today. I ran it a little bit. Gold price today is $28.20. It's up $28.20. It's at $18.59. Let's take a look at crypto. What's crypto doing? And I warned you guys about this stuff. 933 billion. Bitcoin price of 20,120. During this, I'll tell you what I think. Honestly, I'm not down on Bitcoin. I think it's going to survive. But I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. And I've actually told you guys this for years, but I'm going to remind you. At the start of this crisis, we're seeing the period of the deflationary period, the deflationary side of this hyperinflation right now. And generally it's a deflation that always triggers a hyperinflation, acts as a trigger, where the currency actually becomes worth more. It sounds strange, but that's what comes before the currency's worth less. And that's the period we're going through. We're going to see this asset class drop in price. But when they shift directions, the Fed, and they change and they start to hyperinflate the currency, we're going to see them rush into gold and silver and scoop up all the real physical asset. And they're going to leave nothing left but the paper. Short contracts. Nobody's going to want that. When it becomes manifest that it's only a derivative of the real financial product. Everybody's going to want the real financial product, which is the real physical gold and silver. They're all going to want that. It's going to disappear. They're not going to be able to buy it. And if you're not able to buy something, then how can money flow into it? The people that have it aren't going to sell. I don't know what industry's going to do as far as silver. I don't know how they're going to build their solar panels when that happens, because it's all going to disappear. There's going to be none. And as soon as I really know what they're going to do. They're going to also, the government's going to come along and say, hey, you can't buy up all of our silver. We need it for industry. And they're going to stop the average person from being able to buy it. You're going to have to have a special license in order to purchase it. But the people that have it at that point, they've already bought theirs. They're going to be hanging on for dear life, watching the price go up like a rocket. So it's going to disappear. Right? Then what do? With all that excess liquidity they've printed out there, hundreds of trillions, thousands of trillions by that time, the way they're going to have to print to get us out of this crisis they're creating, they're going to have so many mountains of money out there, what we call money, but it's just all Federal Reserve notes, just oodles of the stuff. What are they going to do with all that excess? They can't buy gold and silver. They can't get the real physical any longer. Well, it's going to have a flow, a place to go. Here it is. You're looking at it. This is where the excess flow is going to flow into. But you're going to have to wait through this miserable period where the price of Bitcoin could go down below $10,000 easily in this miserable period before you get to that period where the money flows will start to flow back into this stuff again. Because this is a counter to hyperinflation too. So it's going to pick up a bid. Basically what I'm telling you is it's a bit of a wait, but I think this stuff is going to pick up a bid in the end. So don't always have a little bit of everything. Spread out your financial, like your portfolio. You got to have right now, because of the way things are right now, you got to be diversified. Highly diversified. One guy, he might say, well, I'm diversified. I got all kinds of diversified. Well, what do you got in your portfolio? And he'll show you all these stocks and bonds and all of this different, may have 10 different kinds. This kind of stock I got over here and this kind of stock over here. No, that's not diversification. That's all really in the same asset class. It's all stocks. Or this is all bonds. And it's all dollar denominated, the whole thing. It's not diversified. A diversified portfolio, you'd have some real physical silver, some real physical gold. You'd have maybe a little bit of crypto just to be sure it's not going to go to the moon at some point in the future. You might have, it's diversified. You might have some fine art. You might have some, some old cars, some real physical things in the real world. That's a diversified portfolio. You might have a little bit of land someplace, or you might have a lot of other things that diversify your portfolio, and you're not just all in stocks. Anyway, guys, Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 12 points on the day so far at 32,242. Taking a look at the S&P 500 at 3910, and it's down 7.93 points. Taking a look at crude oil, she's at 76.50. She's up 78 cents on the day so far. Taking a look at bonds and rates today, and we're seeing falling yields. Now, I'm going to tell you, for yields to fall 12 basis points on the long end on 30-year, and 16 basis points on the 10-year, I just can't help but thinking, who's got that kind of money to spend on bonds except for the Federal Open Market Committee? They're the only ones I think is. And why would they move it this much today? If that's the case, I'm just speculating. I mean, I don't really know who bought these bonds. But why would they move it that much? What kind of money would it take to move it that much? And why would they do it today? Because they're getting scared already. Behind the scenes, they're saying, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna take the banks. Regional banks are gonna fail, and the markets could suddenly tumble out of bed." And they're tempering this just a little bit. They're tempering it. And that's a process that blacksmiths use to quench steel with water. Tempering it. They're tempering this whole thing. In other words, they're slowing down the process a little bit. It's what I think they're doing. But it ain't going to help them. Anyway, taking a look now at the U.S. dollar index at 104.36, and it's dropping today. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye, guys.